Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. We're back here at Chico Bocello, and we are filming a Peel episode. So my lovely co-host and another lovely dress, I have to say, Kelly Frost is, I don't know how you do these things, but you do. You pull it all together. And our guest today is Marta Napoleone
Mazzoni.
You were so close. I was close.
You were so close.
I was close. I want to say Manzini all the time because that's like, anyway. So, well, listen, I apologize for that.
Oh, you're
Welcome
good.
to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me on. This is so exciting.
It is. It is. I think, I mentioned to you earlier that I connected with you on one. I think it was Instagram with your podcast, Marta on the Move, which I thought was really cool. That was before I even thought about doing a podcast. And and then once I started doing this, I started looking at different podcasts, and I went back to yours, and it seemed to me like you had a hell of a lot of fun doing that.
I had a hell of a lot of fun.
That is so cool.
It's one of the reasons why I started it. I grew up in Pittsburgh, and I was bored. I was really bored. I really wanted to rediscover my city again, and the people in it, and what made them interesting, and like what was going on.
Sure.
So that's how it began, and then it evolved into travel, and then now it's more like on being human, essentially. I like to call it my jitney journey.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I loved it for whatever it's worth. I thought that you were really, because that was kind of outside the normal, interview podcast space, right? Nick, you can edit that. I knocked the cup over. I apologize. But no, I really liked it because it was outside of the normal interview space, which is what seems to be kind of like the go-to for podcasts.
Yeah, it was fun. It's really fun. I recorded a lot of cool different places. I talked to some really neat people. And it's a good time.
Good.
I enjoy
Excellent.
it.
Excellent.
Conversation.
Yes, absolutely. Now, see, she and I were in our book together.
Yes.
And had never met
Yeah.
before then.
Which
First
is
time-
crazy
yeah,
to
I
me.
know,
Yeah.
right? Because Pittsburgh's such a small space.
That's exactly right.
And so we were in this book together. We didn't meet until the launch of the book.
Really?
Yep. Yeah.
And we connected via travel.
I know, right?
That's
And we were
amazing.
talking
So
and we said,
important.
let's do lunch. Let's do something. And then we never did. And then I reached out and said, hey, why don't you come on the podcast?
Now we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you were kind of on my short list of people that I wanted to talk to.
Aw.
I when we started this, I made a list of, and she was on it, of people that intrigued me, right? Because I figured if I'm interested or intrigued, then somebody else is, So I originally thought of this idea because I would look on social media and I see this famous person did this thing, right? So wait a minute, I know a guy that does that in Cannonsburg. I know a guy over here in, why aren't we telling those stories? So we figured, and then Nick and I connected and it was like, let's do this, So it's been a lot of fun, but from your podcast that I knew you of, I had you on the short list to really sit down and have a conversation because I was fascinated by it. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was a great. It's a good time, and it's one of those things. I recorded the last one I recorded was last July, and then I took a break. I'm taking a break from it because, as you know,
Sure.
how much work, as Nick knows, it's a lot of work to put it out, and I was doing everything myself.
Wow.
Editing, marketing, booking.
See, I can't. That's
all of it.
That's
everything.
crazy.
And I needed a break, and I really wanted to focus on what I was curious about at that point, which was grief, recovery, my own grief, all of it.
Yeah. So you made a pivot, career, not only just personally but career wise, and to get into this, and that's not a subject that everyone embraces because the word grief itself it intimidates people.
It really does. It's fascinating. I feel like I've always been curious about it. So my sister and I used to have these crazy discussions about the universe. I'm talking when I'm like 15. Writing my obituary at 15 is that's a thing. Because I found it fascinating that we have to wait so long. We're
Sure.
not here anymore.
Sure.
But what? Why wouldn't we write this now? Like, why
Okay,
wouldn't we
well,
write what our lives would want to be about? So we would always talk about like the mysteries of the universe, all of these deep conversations. And then she got sick during COVID with lymphoma, double
Okay.
hit B cell. And she passed away. She was my best friend, my sister. And that was really hard. Really hard. And I've experienced loss before. Everybody has.
Everybody has. Sure.
Everybody has in
Sure.
one form or another. And this was really just never saw it coming.
Well, there's that one that hits different.
Yeah.
Right. It just, you don't see it, and it just hits you different. And then I mentioned to you that I went through. My father had exactly the same thing, and it was funny because I talked to him at Christmas time. Okay, and he was fine, and by May he was gone, and he was diagnosed in late March, early April, and that was it.
Yeah. Hers was about eight months. And it was fast.
Yeah.
But slow, but fast, if
No,
you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean. Sure.
People
Yeah, I
get
do.
that when they get that. But
Yeah.
after that, I've been kind of on a journey of self-discovery ever since stepped on that plane in 2004, traveling alone around the world. But I became a yoga instructor years ago and a meditation guide. I was already life coaching people. So I felt like I had the tools
Okay.
to heal myself.
Sure.
And up to a point, I did. I was meditating every day. I was walking like a fiend. Like I wore out shoes. I wore out shoes. You know, I was like, this is this is good. You know, like you're
Forrest
doing
Gumping
great.
it.
Yeah,
Forrest
like
Gumping it,
Forrest
right?
Gumping
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Sure.
And then I reached a wall. I felt stuck, and I like to call it stuck in transition. Like you're transforming.
Sure.
right?
I get it.
But you don't know what to do with it. Like you're just like, oh my God, what is going to help me move past this?
Sure.
So I was reading a ton, I was researching a ton, all this stuff, and I came upon a method called grief recovery method that was evidence-based and actionable and structured, which was really what I needed at the time. And they talk about healing the pain surrounding unresolved grief.
Okay.
And now my sister and I talked about everything, everything. But there's still things. You always still have things on your heart that,
Oh my goodness, yes.
yeah, that are left unsaid that you wish were better or more or different. And what this really allows you to do is complete that with
okay.
that person.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it fascinated me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I pull at things that, like you, curiosity was my driver for the podcast. So
Sure.
it was anything I'm curious about.
Right.
Boop, 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 boop.
Yeah. There you go.
That's life.
That's exactly
the
right.
way to live it. So I went through the program, and I was highly skeptical, and it worked.
Okay.
With the resounding boom. It worked. It was such a release, and it really allowed me to have a breath of fresh air, is what it felt like. I wasn't carrying shame anymore. I wasn't angry. I wasn't restless, and I could really look at the world through. It was almost like my lenses got
Right.
taken off, and every little thing I was like, oh my God, this is beautiful. Oh my God, this is life. And not to say that I still have sadness.
Yeah.
Right? You're
Yeah.
still going to be sad. You're still going to miss that person, but I don't have the pain that results of people holding on to grief, which results in depression, anxiety, bitterness,
Absolutely.
all of those things.
Did
And
you
I
feel
was
like you took like
fascinated.
another step?
Oh my God. Yeah. It was like this. Like I just opened a door. I was like, what? And it's very scary because it's unknown. You really have to trust the process, and they take you through it step by step, kind of revealing what you need to know at that time. And I was like, all right, fine. I'm here. I made it this far.
Did you feel like you were ready for that?
Yes. Yeah. And when you're ready, people inherently know when they come up against that next barrier, I call it, because everybody's journey is different. We're all on different timelines. We're all on different roads. One might be dirt. One might be pavement.
Sure.
So you felt like there's so many people that I feel like sit in it and they don't want to.
Yes.
They want to stay there.
They want to stay there.
Yeah, they're not ready
They
for
wanna-
it. They want to just, they want to feel that. They don't want to feel anything else. It's almost as if they're still connected to that person if they still stay there.
Yeah. So thank you for saying that. A big part of the program that I really loved was you go through a relearning of everything that you know about grief. And
Right.
we've all been raised to think of grief in very specific ways.
Absolutely.
Right? It's what your
Absolutely.
family handed down. It's
Yep.
what they handed down. Be strong, keep busy, time heals all wounds, don't feel bad, grieve
Right.
alone. Like all of these things that are incorrect. And they hold us back from healing is
Right.
what they do. And we pass them on because we don't know any better.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's the first thing that comes out of your mouth,
Yeah.
right? So I loved that aspect of it. And then I took the training to become certified as a specialist for myself, not really thinking that I would take anyone through it. I really just wanted to deepen my knowledge,
Okay.
become a better listener, become a better person because of it. And on the other side of it, I was like, oh, okay, Marta. You teach meditation, you coach, and you do these play workshops that I love. I do like improv and mindfulness workshops for corporations and
Okay.
schools and stuff like that. You can bring all of these things together. Grief doesn't have to be this terrifying thing if you can shine some light on it and really show people the beauty on the other side. Like that there's joy, there's play, there's being alive. Cool. Let's try it.
That's a hard thing. That's a hard sell. It has to be a hard sell.
It is
because,
such a hard sell.
You know, that word joy does not go. No, that doesn't belong with grief, right? That's that's a tough one.
Very hard sell. And when people come to me, they're in a couple different places. So I help people in one of two ways. Either I kind of think of it as a house. If you just bought this house and the foundation is just crumbling, you're not planting roses in the front yard. You're not picking out colors for the wall. You're fixing the foundation. That's the grief recovery method. So it's the people that are like, this is where I begin. For people that have already kind of processed, they just need to play more. They need to find their identity again because you lose who you are.
You absolutely do.
Yeah. Any loss, you lose. It's a change.
Piece of you goes with them.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. And who are you now?
Right.
Who are you now? So that's kind of what I help people do is find out who they are now through play, through like unique. I send people on quests. It's a whole thing. Mindfulness.
That's very cool.
I love it.
I mean, it is very cool. It's like, you know,
I love it.
when you think about how what you said about family handing things down, and a lot of it goes into your beliefs and how you were raised with your spirituality and things like that. Because, you know, when my father passed away, my father was the most important person in my life. Hands down, taught me everything I know. I mean, literally, I'm just like him. I look like him. I act like him. I talk like him. The whole 9 yards. He was a big part of my life. And when he died, now keep in mind, I mean, we knew it was coming. He was on hospice, but it was 6 years ago last week. I still haven't shed a tear. I haven't cried. And I'm like, that's not right. I should have, this should have been, even though I was an adult, right? You know, but I never cried. And I still to this day don't know why.
Ever at all? Still?
No, no. Now, you know, I it's heavy, right? So it was last.
You
it was
carry
the,
it.
It was the 25th. So, you know, this was his. This is the only thing. There were things, you know, there was wealth and savings and all those things. This is the only thing he wanted me to have. So, and I've told this story before. I'm going to tell it again because it's pertinent. But the last day I was with him was a Sunday. He lived in California. I was flying home, and he got this. It was really, really important to him. He was really frail at this point. He was bedridden. He said, I want you to have this. I said, okay. So I got on the plane. I took it home, and I was going to put it away for my oldest grandson, his great-grandson. Then I thought, he was young. He was only 10. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to wear it. You know, just be a way for him. You know, just that day, it was Monday, I worked to work. I was at a meeting. It was 9 o'clock in the morning. My mother called and said he passed away. And I have not left the house without this thing on since 6 years. So that's like, I think this is the way I grieve. This is me grieving by wearing this ring because, and I ask myself all the time, why haven't I cried? Why have I not cried for this man who was the most important person in my life? And it's crazy. It's crazy. And to your point as to how everybody processes grief differently.
It's all unique. Each pain is unique because I don't know what your loss looks like. I don't know what your loss looks like. I can only feel my pain.
Sure.
And then you respect everybody's pain because everybody's pain is 100% felt by that person.
That needs to be said again.
Everybody's pain is 100% felt by each person, and it's unique to each person. It really is.
Oh, I agree with that. Yes,
and the
absolutely.
moment, like people compare losses, and it's like, no.
Yeah, you can't do that.
No. I have a woman in my program right now, and she's like, oh, I didn't lose anybody to death. And, I'm here because of a divorce, of a loss. And I said, that's very painful.
We've had that conversation. That's yes.
extremely painful.
Yes.
And I don't know the pain of that. I've never had a divorce. I can't imagine your pain.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that it's minimized inside of you.
Absolutely.
It's fascinating. And I did want to touch upon a myth that happens in grief that we hand down. A lot of it is keeping busy. Did you ever hear that?
Yeah.
Right after
Yeah.
loss,
Keep
it's like
yourself
keep
busy.
yourself busy.
Yeah.
I like to tell my clients what I do in the grief recovery program and the integration afterward, the joy, the beauty, all that, is moving from the head space to the heart space. And that's really hard to do.
Sure.
It's done through awareness and being quiet and being open and being vulnerable and trusting that someone is not there to fix you and that you actually have space to express it, because in our culture, it is move on. You feel
Life
like
goes
you're
on.
a
Keep
burden.
going. Right.
I was handed down that ideal, right? Like, don't be a burden.
Right.
People don't want to hear that.
I think mine was always, if I would tell my parents, so-and-so passed or something happened, well, that's the circle of life.
Oh, yeah.
That's the circle of life.
Yeah.
It's fine. They're fine. They're fine.
Yeah.
As if like, you shouldn't be sad. You shouldn't be feeling
Don't
this.
feel bad.
Right. Like
Yeah.
just, everything's good. Just keep on going.
Yep. And we push it to a corner. And it never gets addressed. So we hold it. What they say in the program, it's like you are carrying a backpack, right? And like every loss that you've experienced in your life, you put a pebble in, and some are bigger than others, right? It's like one's a little pebble, one's a big pebble, one's like some sand.
Yeah.
But if you don't take them out, one day there's going to be a rock that goes in there that knocks you over.
Yeah.
And you get to that
It's going to
point.
get too heavy to carry.
It's going to get too heavy to carry.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And
I never asked for this.
listen,
No one actively chooses.
I was gonna say, was this like, what were you thinking?
I know. Seriously, people ask me all the time if I'm sad. My husband was the first person to come to me, and Phil, God bless that man. He came to me and he was like, babe, I just don't want you to be sad all the time. I feel like stepping into this work, you're gonna be really sad and carry that and carry other people's grief. And I explained to him that I don't think of it as sad, because now I think of sadness and happiness as just a wheel. That's fully being alive. When you can hold it all.
You can't have one without the other.
Yeah. When you can hold it all, right? And fully be alive, that's being alive. But watching these people go through this and be courageous and brave and want to change.
Yeah.
And want to shift their relationship with this person, because that's what it is. You're actively working on the relationship. You're showing your love by showing up, and it's inspiring. It's like beautiful. It's watching them like come out of, oh my God. I think it's gorgeous.
Do you feel like you're a healer in some aspects?
No. I just feel like I'm a person that welcomes people. And that was a gift that someone told me recently. And I never truly valued it as a gift. But now I do. Like I can hold space. I take care of myself. I'm a yoga teacher. I'm a meditator. You know, I know how to take care of myself. I have room for you.
That's fascinating, because that in itself is next to impossible for most people.
Yeah.
You know, and to be able to have that space to take care of yourself, because self-care is so important. And it's something, and you know, but to be able to hold space for others while you're taking care of yourself, that's not easy. That's a special talent.
It's hard.
Yeah.
And that's also from our culture. Like we
Yeah.
think of self-care as selfish.
Right.
I have a woman that really wants to do the program, and she came to me and she's like, I just couldn't take the time for myself to do this. My husband and my kids, I can't take those 2 hours for this many weeks to do this. And I told her, I said, this is self-love. And it's not just for yourself, because you can't pour from an empty cup.
That's right.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Like,
you can't love others if
exactly
you
right.
don't love yourself.
Right?
Yeah.
Self-care is
That's where love
self-love.
starts. That's
It's
where love
where
starts, right? It
it
starts
has
in
to.
your heart. Your first person that you need to love is yourself. You know, you can't love a spouse if you don't love yourself. You can't love your kids if you don't love yourself.
And how
know,
can
that
you
sounds
teach
like-
someone? How do you teach your child
Right.
how to love themselves if you don't know how to love yourself?
Because it's all about modeling.
Yeah.
Kids learn from modeling.
They don't.
Right?
Yeah, they don't listen to you.
They don't listen to you.
They
but
watch
they
you, though.
watch you. And they watch how you treat yourself.
right.
And take time for yourself. And then they grow up like that. That's what you're passing on.
Have you ever heard the story of, it's a dad, and he tells the story of when he had his son, and he just went all in with his son. Somebody told him that little ones know the secret to life.
They do.
They know the secret, right?
They do.
And listen, I have a 3-year-old granddaughter who, oh yes, she does. But and he goes on to say, you know, every year on his birthday, he asks him, "What's the secret?" And his son would say, "I can't tell you, Dad." So he's 2 and he's 3. He said, "I can't tell you, Dad." And then when he got to 4, that's the age. He said, "So tell me, what's the secret?" And he said, "I don't remember." And that's and it goes a little bit farther, but you know,
I'm feeling this so hard right now.
and see when you said about, because children, little ones, from the day they're born, they know how to love themselves. They inherently, instinctively know how to love themselves, but then we teach them, right? We teach them the wrong way, and they forget, and then they have to relearn it later. And usually, unfortunately, the stimulus, the trigger of that is trauma.
Yes.
It's some kind of trauma
Yes.
or loss, you know. And I love the fact that you talked about divorce too, because we've been through it, right? It's a thing. It's like more common. Most marriages in this country end in divorce. You know, it's just, and it's a disappointing fact of life, but it is a loss.
Yeah, it's absolutely a loss. And I want to pause there because this segues very nicely into part of what is a part of like finding that beauty, finding that play, finding that joy that I help people do is access their inner child.
Oh, that's
That's a big part of it.
It's huge.
And it's not just through coaching. I started really following my fun is how it starts, right? Like
Yeah,
you follow the
yeah.
thread of your fun. And we forgot how to have fun. We don't know what it is anymore.
absolutely.
We don't know what it is.
We grow up.
We grow up, but
We
we
grow
work.
up,
We're
yeah.
like, work is fun, I think. But I think this is
It's supposed
okay.
to be.
It's
This is
supposed
what's
to be.
passing. We're going to pretend like
Yeah,
this
we're
is
gonna
fun, right?
pretend.
We're gonna-
And a big part of that is following my fun helped me help others find theirs. So it's
Okay.
like the
Okay.
play aspect
Mhm.
is something I absolutely love of like holding these workshops and holding these like creativity and connection workshops, it's so important, and people minimize it because you're right. When we're kids, we're open. We're open. We love. We don't have the awkwardness of walking up to a friend and being like, "Hey, you want to play?" No, let's do it. But there comes that moment where we grow up.
That's exactly right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And
exactly
it's so funny how we're
we have to try to
get
fit somewhere.
back there.
Yeah. And we spend our whole
It's
lives.
hard.
You know, I say one of the reasons that I discovered in my journey from, you know, anyway, we won't belabor the point, but there has always been this lost little boy.
Yeah.
Right? He's right here with me, never leaves. He's always been there. And I've never, until recently, I never really reconciled that relationship with that lost little boy that's been following me around my whole life. Right?
We forget.
Yeah, we absolutely forget. And when I heard that story, that I conveyed a little bit of it, it just really hit me because, I see it. You know, I'm around a lot of kids, and there's so much natural joy in little ones, and at 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, and then once they get to 4 or 5, and they get to school, and all of a sudden they're being taught things, right? And the instinctive part of it starts to fade. It starts to fade, and as they grow up and mature, it fades more and more into the background. And then one day it hits us, and then we spend the rest of our lives trying to get back to there. You're right.
there.
And it's
true.
It's crazy.
It's very true. And you're lucky if you even find that awareness that you need to get back there, because a lot of people don't.
Yeah, it's
Well,
hard.
Because
That's
it
why
starts
Peel-
with that.
That's why Peel has one of those pillars, playful purpose.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that is
Gotta
a
have it.
pillar of Peel.
Yes.
That's why we have so many events that are just built on having fun. I mean, there's nothing super serious about it. I mean, like I said, one of our big events is an 80s prom.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Shoulder
doesn't.
pads.
Yes, it doesn't get much more fun than an 80s prom.
This is very
I mean, and that's really, there's nothing more than just having a great time and connecting with people, connecting with
Right.
yourself, and just being silly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Silly. Thank you for saying silly. Silly is underrated. And a lot of people have a hard time being silly. So I was facilitating one of my workshops, and I had a guest, and I use a lot of improv games because I love improv.
You have a theater background,
I
right?
do, yes. Yay! Yay, theater! And honestly, it's just, I'm so thankful for my theater background, and it's so special to me. But these improv games allow people to like break that crusty shell of being awkward and like being self-conscious and being all up in our heads. And it just like, to watch people's eyes actually come alive is the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, it's great.
You know, I start my day off every day with my girlfriend, Jess, who was on the show already, with a ugly selfie.
Yeah.
That we try to outdo each other. But I mean,
playful.
people see you in a certain light or
Yes.
see how they think you're a certain way. That's how we keep each other grounded and laughing and having a good time. Every morning it's like, you know, hey, are you up? Yep. And it's like, "Arr," and we're like doing the worst faces ever. So like I do one to her and then she does one back. And then that's how we start our days.
You start playing.
Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
that you have to.
That's
You-
very cool.
You know, you can't start your day off like, good morning, this is what we're doing today. Da, da, da. I mean, it just can't be like that.
And there's no connection. That's the thing that was really big for me. There was a lack of connection. There's disconnection everywhere. People are on their phones. People, you know, aren't really seeing one another. And these workshops really allow people to see one another. And to walk away with meaningful experience, which I think we're all craving so
Oh
badly.
my goodness, yes. Yeah,
So badly.
Everybody wants to know that their life has meaning, that there's a
Yeah.
purpose, right?
And have that, you know,
Yeah.
connection.
Absolutely.
Do you work with children?
Yes. So I started off the mindfulness and play workshops working at with Open Up Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Going into the Watson Academy, working at Woodlands Foundation. I hosted their Diva event and did like a vision board play workshop with them. And this is interesting to me. I don't know how much time we have left, but I have a surgery coming up, which is a hysterectomy, and I don't have kids of my own. So right now, what I'm going through is redefining motherhood.
Sure.
And it's fascinating to me that I gravitate now towards finding my inner child, to playing with children who opened me up to find, because they're so wise, right?
Absolutely.
They teach you so much.
Absolutely.
And bring that to adults.
Every 3-year-old that I've ever met is literally an incarnation of Buddha. They know things. They just know things.
Tell me what you know.
Yeah, it's like,
Share with me.
Tell me.
They know stuff.
Guaranteed, they're probably going to be like, it's just love, man.
I think if they were able to articulate it, that's what it'd be.
Yeah.
That's all
They
it
are
would be.
the most honest
They are.
people
Oh, my
you'll
goodness.
ever meet, though.
Yeah.
They will tell it to you straight, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. They tell you.
Which we crave.
I love it.
Right?
Oh my God, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a thing of beauty. And I wait until you meet Miss Laura May when she comes back. Oh my Lord, she is cut from a different cloth. So, but I love it because she FaceTimes grandma literally every single night, and she'll just, "Where's Papa? I need to talk to him." So I'll get on the phone and she'll say, "What are you doing?" And I'll just tell her, and she'll say, "Go have fun." Because she says, "I'm coming to your house. We'll play." They live in North Dakota, so I'm coming to your house. We'll play. We'll play this, this, and this. Okay, but she literally she feels emotion at 3 years old.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like,
highly emotional.
they're like Buddha. I'm serious. It's just amazing.
I feel that adults' emotions are dumbed down.
Yeah.
And that's really what this program does, and the work that I do. It's getting back in touch with your emotions and having a safe space to express them, because it's hard.
Well,
It's really hard to find.
It's really hard. And Kelly and I have talked about, when discussing Peel, she has her ladies' luncheons and her men's luncheons, and and they cross pollinate. I go to all the ladies' luncheons and things like that to support the
That's so
organization.
cute.
And I'm usually the only guy there, and it is really cool. But that's another story. But where was I going with that? Oh, here's what I was going to say. Women get it more than we do. If I'm grieving, if I'm sad, or if I'm depressed, my buddies don't want to hear that. I mean, I got guys I can call up and say, "Hey, let's go rob a bank." I'm in, right? Or let's just. But if I need to talk, I know they love me to death. But they get their own stuff. I don't want to hear that. Whereas women get it. You guys know that you understand the word nurture. You understand what that means, right? And you support each other. And it's just it's a thing of beauty. It really is. Strong women interacting together and supporting each other is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
I think
you.
women strengthen women, too.
Women
God,
do
yeah.
strengthen women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at the Peel luncheons, when women come in, I try to be at the front door as they all come in and hug them
Thank you.
as they come in. Really, I
Welcoming.
yes. And but if I don't know you, I always ask, "Are you a hugger?" Because I don't want to just grab people that
Yes.
aren't. And like I said before, I've only encountered one woman that said, "I'm really not," and respectfully, I shook her hand. But that human contact, people crave that, especially after the pandemic, when you couldn't have that and you were told that you can't have that. That really messed with a lot of people's psyche too, telling you can't have that human contact. So people, it's a proven fact that you need to have so many minutes of physical contact a day.
Eye contact, physical contact, be seen and heard.
So if you come
about-
to a Peel luncheon, you're getting it.
Well,
Good to know.
I probably should confess.
I
that
like hugs.
The hugs are the reason I go to the
There you
luncheon.
go.
They're okay, but the hugs are that's the thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and James, to your point, I feel it's definitely how people were nurtured growing up. And I feel like a lot of men were taught, be strong,
especially my generation.
hide your feelings.
Especially my generation.
Be strong,
Cowboy
hide your
up,
feelings.
toughen up.
Yeah.
Take a lap. It's like
Walk it off.
Walk it off.
Absolutely.
You be strong for your sister, be strong for your mom, which is part of the unlearning
That's
in the
exactly
grief.
Yeah.
Or told, "You're okay."
Yes.
Come on, get up. You're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, you're
All
okay.
the time. Oh yeah, you're fine. You're fine. We'll get you a new one.
Yeah.
Or it's
Right. Yeah. My arm's falling off. It's all right. You're okay. Come on.
yeah.
You know, in 1976, I was there. In 1976, I hurt my knee. I got hurt playing football, high school football. Okay, and hurt really bad. I was crying. I mean, literally crying. My dad was a coach. All the coaches were, you know, I know them my entire life. You know, I figured they're going to take care of me. I'm laying on the field, crying. They come over. He said, "What are you doing? Get up! You're embarrassing us. Get up! Walk it off."
Yep.
As it turns out, there were no MRIs and things like that. So I went to the hospital, got an X-ray. It says a sprain. He's okay. Nothing's broken. It's a sprain. To this day, I don't have an ACL in my right knee. I tore my ACL. I called every one of those guys. I said, "I told you I was hurt." But that's the
grief.
thing, right? And it's like,
No, that's grief right there.
yeah,
It's that's a loss. That's a loss of childhood. That's a loss of trust.
That's exactly right.
It's a loss of all of those things. And
You
those
need to call my mom.
Yeah.
You need to call my mom because she thinks I'm a sissy for that. So you need to call my mom and tell her.
It's hard.
No, it is.
Yeah.
It really is.
I will say one of the beautiful things, and this is something that I would love for people to know, because it stops people from taking that help or signing up for a program like this, is they think that the person needs to be involved that you're working on. They have no idea that you're working on them. And they can be alive. You know, you're changing the relationship within yourself.
Sure.
Your emotional reaction to that, right, is very strong.
Oh, yeah.
I felt it. Kelly felt it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What if you could change that?
You know, and that was, what, like almost 50 years ago.
My
Yeah.
knee started to hurt. I
Time
felt it
does
so
not
much.
heal all wounds. That is also a myth.
That is
Yes.
exactly right.
Now, you just said something about trust.
Yeah.
That when you lose trust, that's grief too.
Oh, yeah. Loss
I've
of trust.
never heard anyone say that before.
That's interesting.
Loss of safety.
But
Loss of
I feel
childhood,
that.
identity, betrayal. If you've ever been betrayed by a friend or a friend that moved away and like didn't talk to you anymore, and you have no idea why, that's a loss. That's painful, and you carry it.
And I will tell you, to that point, the other side of that is true too. If you have ever betrayed somebody or harmed somebody, okay, once you get away from that, it's easy to call that regret. I don't think it is. I don't think it is, because you've lost a piece of yourself because you know you harmed another human being, right? That you're grieving for that piece of you that you left there.
Yep. And you have to forgive it.
Right.
That's a big part of the program is apologizing, forgiving, and acceptance. And you do that within yourself. And it is so freeing.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so freeing. It just creates so much space. People always ask me, how do you do all that you do? I'm like, I got a lot of space. I just keep,
You
know,
do.
I
You're
keep working
amazing.
on it. I keep working on it. But people can have that too.
Yeah.
It's not exclusive.
That is so fascinating. We could talk about this subject for another hour.
Forever.
Probably.
I love talking about
Yeah.
this subject.
Oh, it's amazing.
forever.
Really?
It's great because
on what makes us human.
you're talking about something that most people believe is sad, but you're talking about it joyfully and happily, and you're having fun talking about it.
Well, a lot of people don't like to talk about it either.
Oh,
Who
no.
wants to, like, I don't want to talk about betrayal. I don't want to talk about trust. I don't want to talk about death. But that's why people carry it.
Yes.
Because they don't want to talk about it.
Right.
They, like, I went through this, I'm good. But if you talk about it, you get through it. And even if you're not through it, but at least you're talking about
lightens
it.
the burden.
It
Yes.
lightens the burden.
It lightens the burden.
That comes back to safety. People don't feel safe enough to talk about it
That's exactly
because
right.
people are always trying to fix you.
Or you feel judged by
you
talking
feel
about
judged,
it.
or you
you're
feel
gonna
criticized.
get used. Someone's going to use this against me someday.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Right.
I can't be honest. They're going to use
Yeah.
it against me, or they're not going to think that I'm the same person if I start talking about
Yeah.
this.
When
They won't accept
really,
me, I'll be rejected.
yeah,
all those,
right.
all
That
those
is
things.
huge.
Or if they
Yeah.
feel I'm a 10, if I start talking about this, I'll be a 5.
Huge.
Yeah.
And for me, it's so sad because I see people walking around with it, the burden, and I look at them and I'm like, it's all of you, but there's like a butterfly inside of you. Like, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's
Yeah,
okay.
right,
It's a
right.
strength. It's a strength.
It is.
Vulnerability is a strength,
It is.
and
It absolutely is.
let it fly, man.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I'm right there with you. So closing thoughts. So what I like to ask our guests is, we've had a great discussion. I love this. It's been fantastic. And I definitely want you to come back and we'll talk some more about this and some other things. We didn't even touch on the theater piece, which I think is fantastic. I have a granddaughter who's artsy and all those things. And I'm fascinated by all that. I think it's a tremendous thing. So what would you like your takeaway to be for the 4 or 5 people that are actually watching this show?
Stop that.
I know.
See, you're putting yourself down. You're not supposed to put yourself down.
And I would like to tell you, a huge takeaway is that people deserve this. You deserve to be joyful. You deserve to have play. You deserve to have fun. And
I love that.
It's possible.
Sure.
It's not out of reach. There are resources out there, and I'm not the only one. There's a ton of resources. If you go on the griefrecoverymethod.com, there's tons of specialists out there. So you don't have to come to me. And if you just need to shake things up, just step outside your comfort zone, find somebody to talk to. And James, you are creative. You are artsy. You have a podcast.
And you know what?
That's something I didn't understand for a very long time. And that's a part of the work that I do with people, rediscovering their inner child, rediscovering their creativity. You are creative because you're creating something. And that's literally the definition of being creative.
You can't fight with the guests, so you have to disagree with her.
And I do agree because
you are creative.
I'm seeing things,
Look at Peel. That is a creation.
Listen, when I first started, I've been in the engineering business for 40 years, okay? We're not creative. It's numbers. We crunch numbers. It's all logic. We make things work. When I think of creatives, I think of him.
I know, but that's wrong.
I think of her, but you're right. I'm starting to come around to that fact that as I started writing, I'm writing a book.
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring it up, but
I write a blog every morning and all those things. So as I've gotten into that, I'm starting to embrace that creative side that I have that I didn't think 10 years ago, I didn't think I had.
We don't think we have it.
He just wrote a book and he says to me, well, I'm not a professional writer. You just wrote a book.
Do you know how hard it is to write a book? I'm in the process of writing like 3 books. It's impossible.
There's like 5 more in here.
Yeah.
They're every,
He says, I don't think I'm done. I think I need to write more.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, and my anxiety, she's helping me. Listen, she has been an absolute blessing to me. So, but my anxiety is, I have all these other books, and I'm like, I told her, we got to sell this book. This first one, we have to sell books because I can't leave these other ones floating around in my head. It'll drive me crazy. So, but if nobody likes this one, they're not going to like these ones. So, there's a little bit of pressure, right? But so listen.
One step at a time.
Yes. Thank you so much.
How do you eat the elephant?
One bite at a time. You're exactly right. You are exactly right. I absolutely love it. How do people get a hold of you if they want to contact you?
They can find me martaonthemove.com, at Marta's on the Move, and on Facebook, Marta Napoleone Mazzoni.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. This
Thank
was
you.
enlightening.
Yes.
It was
It
wonderful.
has been so wonderful to have you.
Fun.
Really.
This
Thank
was so
you.
fun. Anytime.
Oh,
Thank you
we
for
definitely
having me.
want to have you back.